Hello there, amazing business owners. I have a little bit of a confession to make to you about this episode. This episode was recorded in late 2020. Why do I tell you this? Because it's been too long. And quite frankly, I was keeping it to myself because it was pretty vulnerable. But if I'm being completely honest, these are the types of conversations that I want to see more on this podcast. The real conversations, the raw conversations, not just actionable business stuff, but things that we're all going through, things that we're looking at, things that we're thinking about, and parenting our kids and taking care of our health. And how the hell do we fit all of this into this one glorious, amazing life? So I have been holding back on you. I've been holding this episode back. It is a long one. I was wondering, do I even add in this little disclaimer, this confession at the beginning? But I wanted to let you know that it was recorded in late 2020. I've been holding out on you and I'm sorry. And I want to ask for your forgiveness. There are a few of these episodes like this. Jen's Bevax was another one. And I'm going to start releasing them and putting them up like I should have done before. My perfectionism got the best of me. And I am a recovering perfectionist. And I'm going to start working on done is better than perfect. That was my mantra for last year. I have worked on it so hard. And this year, I'm really going to just put it all out there. So this episode is near and dear to my heart. Let's listen in. You're going to hear the other intro that I recorded the day of our recording. And then you'll hear the full episode. And I can't wait for you to hear it. Well, hello there, amazing business owners. Welcome back to another episode of Business Straight Up, the podcast for the creatives that want to actually make a living doing what they love. I am so excited to share today's guest with you. I feel like I always say that, but I am legit excited when I say that. If you've ever met me in person or watched one of my videos and watched me get excited, it's just how I roll. Life is exciting, right? I am truly excited today, though, to bring you this amazing guest. Jen Rozenbaum is a boudoir photographer and speaker and author and has gone through an amazing journey very publicly. And today we've finally got a chance to talk. We have been trying to connect for so long and the timing lined up. And so today we're going to talk about preparing for things and maybe not preparing for things and just letting things happen organically, and about how things happen for you and not to you, and how you can really step into a place of service when it comes to your clients and believing that what you have to offer actually matters and that it affects people and that your gift is an amazing piece of the world that this world needs. I'm so funny in doing this. Usually I write out my intros. And in this one, I didn't, because I believe so strongly in everything that we talk about today. We talk about failure and reframing your beliefs around failure and how you actually get to choose your beliefs and how you can get help in your business and your life. How do you help your kids believe in themselves? About femininity and being authentic and genuine. And I just feel like I'm completely just letting everything out right now because I have a full page of notes from this amazing interview. So rather than me just regurgitating this to you, I am going to go ahead and jump into the episode. But before I do want to ask a favor. If you are someone that loves to help other people, can you send this episode over to someone that you know may need it? And then head on over to iTunes, leave a review. We so appreciate that. And I cannot wait for you to hear all of this. So let's jump in. Hey there, awesome people. I am Brooke Summer, and you are listening to Business Straight Up, the podcast for creative entrepreneurs to learn, connect, grow, and build the business and life that they dream of. Welcome, let's get going and dive right in. Thank you so much for joining us today for another episode of Business Straight Up, the podcast for creative business owners and photographers who want to actually make a living doing what they love. Because the cliche of the starving artist can suck it. It needs to go. Today's guest is an amazing boudoir photographer, speaker, and author who has not only built an amazing boudoir empire, should I call it empire, business, but has taken her message and impact even further after her fight with breast cancer. I am so thrilled to welcome the incomparable Jen Rozenbaum. Thank you, Jen, for being here.
Thank you for such a beautiful introduction. I appreciate that.
Don't you wish you had like trumpets when you walked in a room? Like, dun, 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 dun.
I do. It's two kids, and every time I walk in a room, they go, "Mom, mom, mom, mom."
Right?
That's what I hear.
Or mine like bicker, like, Mom, he did this, Mom, she did that. And I'm like, stop.
Yeah,
Oh,
the struggle is real.
oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being here. I feel like this has been a long time coming. The stars didn't align properly, like we had talked about it, and then it just didn't work out. So it took some time, but patience wins again, right? I need to remember that in my
Yes.
own head.
Yes, timing is always meant to be. When it's meant to be, it will always happen, right?
That's so true. It's funny, when I was preparing for this episode, I was writing out notes and I felt a little voice inside saying, just have a conversation, like let it flow. And it's so funny. You kind of mentioned the same thing. I'm sure we won't run out of things to talk about because that's how it works, right?
Yeah, I have to say, I hate when people send me notes or questions
uh,
before an
yes.
interview. I understand that that's some people's process, right? They have to be
Mhm.
prepared and they have to know that they're going to have something to talk about. That is not my process. I am always the least prepared person in the room because I
Yes,
feel sometimes that if you over prepare, you're not allowing room for the things that will organically happen to happen. So
definitely.
I'm sometimes when people send me notes for a podcast, I don't even read them. Like,
Definitely.
whatever, you know?
I know people ask me for notes like a couple days beforehand. I'm like, I don't have notes for you yet. Sorry, that
Yeah.
happens like 15 minutes beforehand. But I've learned that as I get a little older, because I turned 40 this year, woohoo, I listen
Yay.
more and more to that voice, like those
Yeah.
nudges. Are you feeling that as you get a little older and you start to hear, like, trust yourself, right?
Yeah, I do. I'm much more in tune with my inner nudges, as you
Yeah.
like to say, my inner nudges. Yeah, because I always say that you have to trust your intuition. It's always right. I really believe that the intuition is a woman's strongest muscle. And
Yes.
we as women, I think, are also very good at shutting it down and being like, nope, nope, you don't know what's right for me. I know what's right up, in my brain. I know what's right for me.
Yes.
But as I get older and I have more experiences and I realize I need to trust my gut even more, yeah, I also have to allow room for it to do its magic.
Yeah. Yeah. And to allow the time to hear it. Because if we're constantly filling our brains with everything that comes rushing in, which is basically our world now, how can we
Yeah.
actually hear what we're supposed to hear and know what we're supposed to know?
Yeah, and I think that that is also the art of conversation, isn't it? I mean, if you came to me with a list of, let's say, 10 questions you were going to ask me, and you're very rigid, I'm not saying you, but like in general, if somebody's
Yeah.
very rigid or they're like, okay, this is my preparation, these are the 10 questions I want to know the answers to. Well, it's like your heart and your mind is not really open to maybe there's
Mhm.
something else you need to be asking, or maybe that those
Yes.
aren't the right questions, or maybe I'm going to say something, or somebody else will say something that will trigger a different question. And some people are just so rigid, and that's okay. Everybody has a different process. But yeah, I find that expectations ruin any sort
Yes.
of like organic connection like that.
Absolutely. And I actually see that. My daughter's only 5, and I see that in her already. And so I am now frantically trying to. It sucks when you see something in your kids that you don't like, and you're like, that's me.
Yeah, yeah, right.
I'm
The
frantically
things about
trying
our
to,
kids that,
yeah, to address it,
sorry.
right? No, that's okay.
Yeah,
There's a little
totally.
delay.
Yeah, a little delay. Well, I was just going to say, I just said this to a friend the other day. It's so funny how the things that drive us crazy in our kids are the things that we have, like, those are our traits.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I want to work on it for myself. Like I see these things in my daughter that I now need to work on for myself because I don't want her to repeat those things. Things like ignoring that little voice and ignoring those nudges and ignoring the belief that I'm enough exactly as I am right now, that you don't
Yeah.
have to lose 10 pounds. You don't have to have a different color hair. You don't have to reach a certain point in your life. And I know that's something that so many of us struggle with.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So my daughter is 15. I'm like in the thick of that. I'm the thick of it. And it's so hard. It's so hard to also not put your own insecurities on them.
Yes.
It's like because I find like the generations are different, right? Like
Mhm.
when I was growing up, I grew up in the whole like Kate Moss era, right? So we all like
Mhm.
thought we had to be waif thin, like that was
Yeah.
it. And that still sticks with me. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like that's
Yeah.
still, I will never be waif thin. That's not my body type, but I'm still of that mindset of like you can't get heavy, you can't do it, you know, like for
Yeah.
myself, not for other people. I don't
Yeah.
judge other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I hear that inner voice say those things to me. Where my daughter is in the Kim Kardashian generation, and she'll
Uh,
sometimes come home and say to me, so and so is so skinny, it's like weird. And,
really?
I have to teach her, like, you shouldn't body shame somebody because they're skinny. Where I grew up, it was like we body shamed people if they were heavy, right? Oh, not me, but
Right?
you know what I'm saying? The society.
Yeah.
And I sometimes have to be really careful what I say around her because she has different mindsets than I
Yeah.
have also. It's weird.
It is. I see that like not just in bodies, but like in money and money blocks. Like, what did we grow up? What are the stories that we heard growing up, even though they were completely unintentional? Our parents weren't trying to do something wrong. It's just, and I am now super conscious of the things that I say because I don't want to push those on my kids as well. When it comes to things like money or even things like chores or schoolwork, this idea that they have to work crazy, crazy hard to get to where they want to go is so detrimental for us right now. And we just have this like productivity mentality.
Yeah, and money's a hard one for me. I'm really struggling with that because I find that my children are like think that there is unlimited sources,
Hmm.
and you want them to think that and at the same time understand the value of a dollar and get the fuck out of my wallet,
Right?
like, sorry, I shouldn't say that, sorry.
Yes.
But
No, that's fine.
and I'll like listen, I spoil my children rotten. They have everything that they need in the world, but it's like never enough,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
because they're growing up in a day and age of like TikTok and Instagram, and there's just more to buy, more to consume, more to have, more to compare yourself to. I find it doesn't stop. Like I will often say
Yeah.
to them, you guys, like I don't want to hear a sentence that starts with I want or can you buy me for
Right?
like another week. Like please, it's every day. It's every day.
Wow.
And I don't understand because that's not how I'm raising them.
Yeah.
That's like almost how society is raising them.
Yeah.
So it's really hard. There are times where I need to say to them, we just can't afford that. I'm sorry, I can't afford to buy you a pair of
Yeah.
Yeezys every week. It's just not going to happen. You know, Nor do I want to
What?
put that much money in Kanye's wallet, but that's another story. But I'm sorry, I can't. And
No.
but they have to know that too. They have to learn limits also. So I'm sure that I am completely messing them up with money, but they think that money's unlimited, and
Yeah.
maybe that's a good mindset in some ways. I don't know, but
I
my
don't know
daughter's
what
now like
the,
because she's 15, I'm making her work. Now it's
yeah.
like okay, you
Yeah.
have to
Yeah. Yeah.
babysit or you have to get a job or something because I'm sick of
Yeah.
buying this stuff for you. It's your stuff.
Yeah. Well, and what's the line, right? Between believing in abundance and also being financially responsible? Because I struggle with that too. Like, yeah, sure, I have the money. Let's buy it. But should I really buy it? Maybe not.
Right. Well, I think that you can have abundance. And, it's not even for me, my thing with my kids, it's not even an abundance thing. It's like a value thing. It bothers
Yes.
me. It's like they want something until they have it. Then it's old news. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, no, if you're going to spend money on something, whether it's $1 or it's $1,000 and it's something you really wanted, then it should mean something to you.
Yes.
Like for me, I've always said this to my children. I have an issue with like, you're leaving your clothes on the floor. It's
Mhm.
disrespectful. Do you know how hard I work to buy those clothes? Those clothes
Yes.
are not just like, oh, whatever, it's a $10 sweatshirt.
Yeah.
If it's something of yours, you should treasure it and you should take care of it because it's showing money that you respect what it turns into
Yes.
when you actually spend it. And so for me, it's not just about abundance. It's about like what happens when you actually are living in abundance, whether it's abundance in your bank account or abundance
Yeah.
in your stuff. Are you respecting it? I've
Yes.
started to be really careful too about money. Like I make sure that the money is like in a neat place in my wallet. It's all facing the same
Mhm.
direction. It's like there's a certain respect that you need to show money and the things that you buy with it, I think. And
Yeah.
I live in a house of three slabs, so it's very difficult for me, to be honest with
Me
you.
too. Hmm.
It's true though, if you think about it, like
Yeah.
if I gave you something or you bought something, you always treat the thing that you buy with just a little bit more care, right? It's your
Yes.
money. It's just, yeah,
Or if something's more expensive too. Like if you have two shirts and one of them is $100 and one of them is $10, which one are you going to take better care of?
right, right.
Probably the $100 one.
Exactly. So there's a lot to learn around money, and I'm trying, but that's a hard one because I have my own hangups with money, and I'm learning a lot about that. I've been really thinking about that a lot lately.
Me too. I have been going through, I just finished, do you know Natalie Kita? I just
Yes,
finished her abundance course, and she talks about treating money like your lover, which was funny
yes,
to me at first, but then you think about it, like, do you take care of what you have? Like, just exactly what you were saying. Do you check on your bank account every once in a while, or do you just let it sit there and hope for the best? Like, those things
yeah.
that I don't really think about very much, and I need to.
Yeah, it's so true. I was just working on some of my taxes. Don't judge me, but I didn't do my taxes yet.
I
It's
just
like,
did mine a week ago.
right. So it's the worst thing in the world. But anyway,
Yes.
they needed some 1099s from some investment accounts I had. And I was like, you know what? It's so bad. Like, I don't even check on these things. I just hope that they're going to do well. And they are doing okay, luckily. But,
Yeah.
the pandemic has definitely changed my mindset around money just a bit. Because I had to really dig deep in this whole, like, we're going to be okay. We're going to be fine. Let's just
Yeah.
put on a happy face. Let's believe it's all going to be good.
Yes.
Because it was scary.
It was scary. It was one of those things like, do I believe the whole world is going to hell and we're all going to die in a fiery pit? No, but it is scary. And we do have to look at, are we going to pay our mortgage? What does this look like? What
Right.
does even things like groceries look like? I tell my husband all the time, I feel like the pandemic was a magnifying glass for so many
Mm-hmm.
things. And it's definitely caused some learning to happen over here in how
Yeah.
do we take care of things?
Yeah. I also didn't think we were all going to die in a fiery ball. But worse than that was that we were going to live and not have the means to do so. That's
Yes.
scary, especially when you are, my husband and I are both entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And, for me personally, I can only speak for myself personally, but, I've been in my business for 12 years. So 12
Yes.
years I've been an entrepreneur. And there's like 12 good years of my life that I put into this business to get it
Yeah.
where it is. And in about 60 days, it was ripped away from me.
Isn't that a
You
crazy
know,
wake-up call?
it is a crazy wake up call.
Oh, yeah, I agree. It's
Crazy
so
wake up.
funny. I have friends that have been asking for like headshots at discounts. And finally, I was like, look, I have literally lost 6 months of revenue this
Yeah.
year. That's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. We have things that we need to do and things that we need to take care of. And so here's the price. And it's
Yeah.
funny to watch people's responses and their expectations. It's definitely a huge wake up call in, man, I love what I do, but I also need to look at other things as well.
Yes, now I've pivoted. And this is a moment where like I had to sit down and say to myself, listen, you built this business once, you can do it again. You have skills,
Yes.
because I think as photographers or as creatives, we have, I don't know about you, but I have these panic moments of like, what else can I actually do with my life? I
Yeah.
have a degree in psychology, but I don't have a master's. I don't have a PhD. I don't have, like I can't just go into the world. I mean, listen, let's face it. I say this all the time. I'm unemployable because I'm an entrepreneur. I
Me
can't
too.
work for somebody else. Like I just
Me too.
can't. So what happens in a world where your business gets taken away from you and it's not really the time to start a new business? What do you do? And I had to just keep saying to myself, you're going to be fine and you'll pivot and you'll find something and you'll make it work. You just put one foot in front of the other. I was very adamant about paying all my bills every month. I didn't call my landlord and say, I can't pay the studio rent. I just was like, I'll just keep paying.
Yeah.
Because if I pay it out, it's the same thing, right? The abundance, it'll come back
The
and it'll be
circulation.
fine. And
Yes.
100%. Luckily, I was in a position to do it. I know not everybody was, but I just kept saying, okay, well, I'll just come up with something. And I did. Funny how things work out. We talk about timing. I had to have another surgery this year. I had to have another reconstruction, and I hired a new plastic surgeon. And I make it sound like it's like a job. I hired a new
It is a
plastic surgeon, but
job. They work for
it
you.
is kind of a job. Yeah, he did work for me. So anyway, he's an amazing, amazing, amazing doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And, so much of what I do is with breast cancer and so much of what he does is with breast cancer. And I just said to him, how come not everybody in my area knows about you? Like, that's a shame because
Yeah.
people are getting botched reconstructions over and over and over. Everybody needs to know about you.
Yes.
So I convinced him to hire me to do his social media.
Nice.
And part of that involves taking pictures of people and things and whatever. So I'm using my camera. I'm spreading the word for the breast cancer world, which is part of my mission. It doesn't feel off-brand at all.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's helped me. It's opened my eyes. Okay, it's not boudoir. I'm a boudoir photographer. It's not boudoir, but I don't even care. Is it about
Same
helping
thing.
women? Because that's what I do, you know?
Yep.
So it came to me. and I was like, okay, maybe there's something here. Maybe this will be the best thing that's ever happened to my career. Maybe it's just temporary. I don't know, but I'm just going to
Yeah.
put one foot in front of the other. And if someone's ready to pay me for something that I believe in, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
You have to sort of shelve your ego, right? And say like, okay, I can't just make a living right now as just a boudoir photographer because my studio wasn't even open.
Yep. And we, especially as business owners, those marketing skills are crazy valuable. And we a lot of times forget that and forget that, hey, maybe these can be used elsewhere. I see other businesses like around me too, especially like restaurants. No one even knows they're there. I know that you live in New York, but we live in like suburbia, which I almost said suburb hell, and I'm trying not to say that, but it is suburb hell in restaurant land because it's all chains. It's like Chili's and Olive Garden and stuff. And so when you have those rare little restaurants, no one knows that they exist. And I was thinking the same thing, like, how do you pivot and use your skills in a different way to maybe help other businesses that need help right now? Because they're being creative too. They're trying to figure it out too.
Yeah. And one of the things I would tell photographers a lot in the beginning of the pandemic, and it's still true, is like, now is not the time to disappear from social media. Now's the time to double down because,
Yes.
a lot of people just kind of were like, this is too much for me to handle if the kids are home. I mean, we all had those feelings. I had those feelings too. But I was like, I will post every day. And I didn't have new material to post. So I went out, I took my camera, I started taking pictures of bugs and flowers and lights and whatever it was I could find that was interesting. And I was like, all right, I'll share this. If my audience is my audience, they're going to want to hear what I have to say and show anyway.
Yes.
And it definitely helped. Like when people come to me in their photography business and they say, I'm really slow, I don't know what to do, I'm trying to market and I'm trying to reach out. And I'll say, well, are you shooting at all? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, well, you have to be shooting. The energy attracts the energy.
Yep.
Just keep shooting, even if it's for free or if it's for whatever, just keep the energy going.
Yes.
And it will start attracting more shoots. Even that is part of it. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to use this as an excuse to put my camera down and not do anything for 6 months. In fact, I stuck that camera to my side. I took it everywhere I went, which was not many places. But if I just went on a walk in the neighborhood or whatever, I was like, I'll take my camera. I would take pictures of the neighborhood kids, send them to the parents. It's just like a way for them to remember, oh, right, Jen takes pictures, Jen's doing her thing. It's a good creative outlet, things like that. So it's definitely taught me a lot.
Yes. Well, and creators, like when we're not creating, we feel stagnant. Like it just feels blah. And so we have to keep creating whatever that looks like, whether it's artists or photos or whatever that looks like. I absolutely agree that every time I'm not creating, I find that I'm more irritable. I get upset very easily. I am like, leave me alone and just freaking out. Whereas even if I just go into my office and do a quick painting, or I will call one of my past clients and be like, who wants to get naked in a waterfall this weekend? I don't know. Let's just go do it. And you figure it out. Make it work. That momentum matters.
Yes, 100%. It's so important.
So I want to talk to you about business a little bit. You were running an amazing boudoir business. You were also helping and educating other photographers, your Creative Live and other things. And you got some news that I would imagine completely rattled you. We talked a little bit about it. What did that time in your life look like? Like, how did you make it so that you could step back from your business? What had you been paying attention to in your business so that you could step back and fully focus on healing?
When I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's what's so funny about this whole COVID thing. I feel like I'm sort of an expert at all this. Like when COVID hit, I was like, I got this. I've been doing this for a long time. Right. I was like, I got this. So I was diagnosed in July 2017 during a very busy time of my life. I'm in work and whatnot. It's interesting because right before I was diagnosed, I remember multiple days laying in bed at night and asking the universe for guidance on how I could reach more women. I would say something like, just how can I reach more women? How can I help more women? How can I get my message out there? What I'm doing, I have a reach and I have an audience, but how do I go beyond what I'm doing right now?
Scale it? Yeah.
How do I scale it? Show me the way. Show me who needs the help and how I can help and all of that. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about fame. It wasn't about work. It was about, how do I take my skills and my message to the masses? How do I do that? And I was diagnosed with breast cancer very shortly after that. And I was kind
Wow.
of like, I had a moment of like, okay, this is so not what I meant.
Right?
But I think being a spiritual person and sort of being one with the universe, you have to realize that things don't always show up in the package that you think it should. So I knew from day one that this was happening for me and not to me, and that there was a reason for it.
Yes.
Yeah. And I remember calling my mom, telling her, and this was after the diagnosis, I said, listen, I just want you to know that I am going to tell everybody that I know that needs to know personally, and then I'm going to go public with it. And when I say public, I mean very public. Like there'll be pictures, there'll be stories, there'll be videos, there'll be a book probably, there'll be whatever it's
Yeah.
going to be.
All the things.
This is my purpose.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, I support you in that. So I went public very early on. And I have to say, for me, this isn't true for everybody, I think, but for me, going public actually really helped me in my career, because I think it helped people understand that if I wasn't showing up, it wasn't about them.
Yeah.
And I was going to show up again. Like, just put me on pause. Don't put me on hold,
Yeah.
like, but don't put the stop button on me. So I remember like calling some of my sponsors and just saying to them, like, I understand I can't make it to this event. I can't make it to that event. And I understand if you want somebody else to do it, but please know that I love you and I want to work with you and I hope you don't give up on me.
Yeah.
And they were like, what are you talking about? They doubled down on me, like they
Wow.
were like,
Yeah.
no, we love you. I remember Nikon saying to me, we don't even care if you never pick up a camera again. You're one of ours, like
Yeah.
you're family here.
Yeah.
And so it was very helpful. I know a lot of women book sessions with me, and they told me flat out, like, I booked a session with you because I'd been considering it for a long time, and I could tell that you needed it. You needed the work, you needed the space in your head to do it. So a lot of people booked me, and honestly, I was pretty busy during the time. I mean, I was shooting on alternate weeks. I had chemo one week, I would shoot the next week.
Oh my, that's
Yeah, like it was crazy, but it's a very important mindset. If you can physically do the things, to do them.
Yeah.
I would never ever tell anybody to push yourself physically in a bad way. There were plenty of weeks I laid down and did nothing. I mean, it was like, I didn't look at an email. I would send somebody a message like, I'm not even answering you for a week. I'll be back, like,
Yeah.
and protecting that space. But it was also important for me to be around positivity and be creative and do all the things. So I did work through my breast cancer. It was hard. I had to cancel a lot of things that I didn't want to cancel, and trips that I wanted to go on that I couldn't go on. And I remember Nikon asked me to speak at CES. It was the first time I was speaking for them on a big stage like that. And I wouldn't say no. And it was 9 days after I was done with chemo. And I got on a plane and I went to Vegas. And I was like, no problem. I'm going to be there.
Gosh.
It really helps the fighter mindset in a way, where cancer can take a lot of things from me, right? It took my breasts. It took my security away from me.
Yeah.
It took a lot of things from me. But I was like, I'll be damned if you're going to take my business. I'll be damned if you're going to take my smile. Like, there are certain things you have control over. And as much as I could control them, I did.
Yes.
It's been a long 3 years. Like, there's not many people know this, but right after I was diagnosed and I healed and I was starting to get back into my life, my dad was diagnosed with cancer and he was very sick. So I was dealing with him for a bunch of months in 2019. So last year, so 2018, I had finished my treatment in 2017. 2018, I was like, this is going to be the year. This is my year. The year was a waste. I mean, it takes a good year to recover from cancer treatment. It's like, nobody really tells you that, but I'm going to be honest. If you had chemo, give yourself a good year to get yourself somewhat back to normal. Because what happens is when you're done with treatment, like, the tidal wave of what you just went through kind of hits you. So 2018 was a tough year for me. 2019, I was like, I'm good. This is my year. January 2nd, my dad got diagnosed with cancer. I was like, what the hell?
No.
Okay, so we made it through 2019. 2020 is going to be our year. I don't have to tell you how that went. So,
Yay.
It's been a long few years, but I'm still standing. I'm surviving.
Yeah.
Doing my thing.
Yeah.
Does it look like how I want it to look? No, I think if I was not sick and I didn't have all these challenges, I'd be in a much further position. But who knows? Maybe COVID would have wiped all of that out too. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and there's something, I think, to be said for showing up authentically. I feel like that's a buzzword now that's used way too much. But when you show up authentically, even in your shortcomings, whether they're intentional or something you can't control, like, I've been following up on podcast guest stuff that is like over a year old. And I have just been completely frank with people and said, look, I have been in a place where I haven't been able to do this and it's not intentional. And if you never want to talk to me again, I understand. So many people have emailed me back and said, we are going through the same thing and we thought we were alone. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for saying something, just being authentic and being real. And not everyone has responded, and that's okay too.
Yeah, I mean, your vibe attracts your tribe, right? I mean,
Yes.
the
Yes,
people that don't
absolutely.
respond are not your tribe, and that's okay. Yeah, I was
Absolutely.
afraid when I got cancer that people wouldn't want to be around me, that people would be like, not book me, not want to show up when they, they would have pity. Ugh, I would always be like, please don't pity me.
Yeah.
Like, I can't deal with that. But it did change my circle of people, but all for the better.
Yes, absolutely. I asked you for advice for a new businesswoman, kind of related to all of this, and you said to believe in yourself. And I completely agree with this, but I know that I really had to fight and go through some shit to learn that and embrace it. So, where did
Yeah.
you learn that? Was it like through that whole process in the past few years, or were you like that before that and it kind of helped you? Where did you learn that? How can I teach my daughter this at 5 instead of at 38?
I'll tell you exactly how you could teach her at 5. Because when I was 7, my parents started a business out of my basement,
Hmm.
and they are still running that business to this day. So I don't want to tell you how old I am. Let me
Wow.
think for a second. I'm
27, right?
joking because I tell everybody. Right, exactly. 20 years ago, my parents started a business. No, my parents almost 40 years old. It's 38 years old, and they're still running the business to this day, and it's still successful to this day. And I have seen my parents go through a lot of ups and downs. I've seen them go through recessions. I've seen them go through, they're manufacturers and distributors, so I've seen them go through manufacturer issues. I've seen them go through elections that affect tariffs, and I've seen them go through, a changing customer base and problems
Yeah.
with people and personnel in the office. I mean, I've seen it all. And the one thing that I really learned from them was that there's no such thing as failure. You just keep changing
Oh,
to go with the times, because, my parents, for example, for years, they only sold to distributors, right? And they wouldn't sell to an end user. Now they're selling to end users. You know why? Because it's
yes.
Amazon world, and this is how
Yes.
people have to make their money. And they had to change the structure of their business. But they didn't stop and go, well, all the years that we did it the other way was a failure. No, it just worked at that time. When it stopped working, they changed it. We, as business owners, I think often see something not working and then go, oh, I'm a failure. And like, you get that in your head. It's
Yeah.
like, if you could just change your mindset of like, no, it's not a failure. It's just not working anymore.
Yes.
So many times when people come to me and they say, I need to change my pricing. Okay, why do you need to change your pricing? Well, people are telling me it's too expensive all of a sudden. I'm getting a lot of people telling me it's too expensive. Okay, don't change your price. Change how you charge.
Yes.
Two totally different things. Just change something. And oftentimes they'll come back to me and say, wow, that really worked. That's really kind of insane.
Yes.
But it's just, I've always learned that there's no failure. It's just, the only failure is not changing with the times, is not taking the risk. And I learned it by watching my mom. So Brooke, if she's home and she's watching you do all of these things, she is also learning it. It will take time for her to understand. Did I make you cry? But
Sorry.
but she will understand. Yeah, you know what? This is a way where I can tell you that we lead by example. And, I think that just those little moments of like saying to your kid, it's not a failure, or saying, you know what, I did this, it doesn't work anymore. Now I'm going to try something
Yeah.
new. It's that subtle little difference of language. When I started my boudoir business, everybody told me I couldn't do it. Everybody said to me, you can't
Right?
start a business out
Yeah.
of your bedroom only shooting boudoir. Nobody's going to come. Nobody's going to listen to you. And I was
Yeah.
like, the more you guys say no, the more challenge it is for me to do it.
Right. That's so true.
And I did it. But you know why I did it? Because I didn't know that I couldn't.
Yeah.
I think that this is one of the areas where I think now, like during COVID, these are the times that make or break you, right? That you
Yes.
say, okay, I
Yes.
can curl up in a ball and I can hit the couch and I can ride out the wave of the pandemic and just, hide, and the bomb will go off and I'll come outside in 6 months to a year and see if anything's still there. Or you can say, you know what? I'm not going to let it. I'm not going to curl up on the couch. I believe in myself, and I know that if I did
Yes.
this, I could do something else too. I can believe in myself. I'm not saying I don't have days where I don't struggle.
Yeah.
Everybody has days that they struggle.
Yeah.
Just don't get sucked into that black hole.
Yes. I always tell my son, it's okay to be upset. It's okay to be angry. Set a timer for 15 minutes, scream, punch a pillow, yell, cry, be upset, whatever. And when the timer goes off, pick yourself up and figure out what you can do to move forward. Because feel the feels. It's important to feel the feels, right? And to go through it, but it's also important not to let them stop you from what you want to do, from what you want to learn, from where you want to go.
Sometimes I think also if you're stuck in like this mindset of like, oh, you can't do it, you're not worth it, you're not talented enough, you're not this, you're not that, ask a friend of yours to talk to you instead, or talk to yourself like you would talk to somebody else. Maybe you have to
Yes.
depersonalize it a little. You know, when I was working at my pricing for the doctor for the social media stuff, I don't know how to price that. In fact, everybody
Yeah.
in the area is doing it for $500, $1,000, and I was like, $500, dude, if I'm going to do this, it needs to have more zeros than that. And
Yep.
you know, this is not, no. And I was talking to a friend of mine who I was running the pricing past her. She's not even in business, but I was just like, what do you think of this? And she was like, no, it's not enough money. You're worth more than that. And I was like,
Nice.
okay. So I
We all
listened to
need those
her instead of
friends.
me. 100%. I was like, wow, you're amazing. So I changed my pricing. I sent him the proposal, and I had a big fear of like, if he turns down this proposal, then he'll prove to me I'm not worth this much money. Right.
Yes.
Instead, he came back and he was like, I'll take your middle package, which is, as you know, as a photographer, right what we want, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Not even a hesitation. And now, you know what? I'm worth that much money. He proved it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
now I can't ever charge less than that because he has set the bar for me.
Yes. Well, and how often do we say things to ourselves like, I'm not worth this much? I'm not, that we would never say to our kids or to like this new baby that has just come into the world. Sorry, you're not worth that. Like, it
Right?
just doesn't work
It's a
that
horrible thing
way.
to say.
Right?
Horrible
So
thing to say.
why would we say that to ourselves?
It's horrible. I have a good friend. We share a lot of like this back and forth, like stress about work and all of that. And
Mhm.
we beat ourselves up to each other all the time. It's like, that's like my friend that I'm always like, oh, I screwed up or I did that. And he'll always say to me, can you stop talking about my friend like that? I'm
Right?
like,
Good
you're
for
right.
him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, I love that. I think that forgetting our own value and our own inherent worth just because we're human is something that we do far too often.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we put it on other people like, well, someone didn't do this for me, clearly I'm not worth it. Someone didn't do this for me, clearly I'm not worth it. Someone didn't like my pricing here, clearly I'm not worth it. And it has nothing to do with that. Usually when someone
Yeah.
brings you down, it's more about them than it is about you.
Always. It
Yeah.
always is, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned a lot. I'm learning a lot about this in the pandemic, a lot. I've learned a lot of it over business in the many years, but especially just now, just, understanding that, I also had this moment of like, if he doesn't hire me, am I going to feel bad, And then I was like, no, you
Yeah.
know what? Because my time is worth that much money. And I don't
Yep.
want to do it if I'm not making that money. I can make
Yes.
my money somewhere else doing something else for that much,
Yes.
And
Yes.
really being your own biggest fan, like in
Mhm.
so many ways, that has changed a lot for me. I want to say even in the past 2 months, big
Yes.
time, like not worrying about having to impress anybody else or do anything for anybody else and just like doing what I feel and loving it and
Yes.
feeling good about it and being my own fan. Yeah.
I have seen that more and more, like with my 39th birthday and now 40. Like, I feel
Mhm.
like I'm stepping into that more. And I want so much for my younger students and my kids. I want them to know that earlier. So I feel like I hammer that way too much, but it's so important to me because I know how much more freedom that has given me in my own life.
Yeah, I think it's something that, because I also felt a change around 40. I
Hmm.
think that there needs to be a balance between knowing that they're going to have to, it's their process and they'll come to it when they come to it, but
Yeah.
also just saying the same thing over and over and over and over. And one
Yeah.
day they're going to go, oh, I get it now.
Yes. I've always told my
Yeah.
clients, especially my older clients, some of my most favorite clients are over 40 because you get to a point where you're like, I'm going to blow my own damn mind. And if you don't like it, cool, but you can go over there because I'm doing my thing over here. And I love
Yeah.
that vibe. I love that attitude.
Yeah, I started to, when I turned 40, I started questioning everything I believe to know is the truth, right?
Yes.
Religion, marriage,
Everything.
parenting, work,
Yes.
being a woman, everything. And then I was diagnosed with cancer. I was almost 42.
Hmm.
And then going through that process also made me go through it again. Like,
Yeah.
wait, is this really what I want? And then the pandemic hit, and that even made me question it further. I mean, it's pretty amazing how deep you can go into what you were raised with and what your beliefs are. And are they actually what you want your belief, how you
Yes.
want it to manifest in your life? It's crazy work. It's hard to do because you're
Yes.
like, like, obviously, I don't like to talk about religion It's a thing. But let me just tell you my own situation. I believe I'm very spiritual and I do believe I'm religious, but I don't believe in organized religion for me, okay? Not for anybody else. But for me, I don't understand why it costs me $5,000 a year to be a part of a temple, like that. Is this a business or is this a, spiritual place? So I started questioning, is this really what I want? Was this how I want my family to learn my religion? Is this the religion come from here? Does it come from the home? Now it's so funny because we're in a position where a lot of us can't even go to worshiping places and yet we're still religious, right? So, and again, I'm not trying to get into something controversial, but trying to show how the mindset can work, where you're like, well, let me really question all of this. Is this really what I believe?
And the fact that you can choose those beliefs. Like we don't think of that when we're younger, that we do have the option to choose those beliefs.
Yes. We don't know because it's ingrained in us so blatantly and subconsciously at the same time. It's so, just the little comments people make, even now, even little things now, I have a lot of beliefs, a lot of things that I do every day where I'm like, I don't even believe in this anymore. I don't even know why I'm doing it,
Right?
Like, maybe I need to change this right now. I think that marriage is one of them. I think that marriage is going to change over the years for our children's generation. I think this whole, you need to get married and then have babies and then and I think it should change. I think that for women, I know myself, to spend my 20s looking for a husband, that's like what I did.
That was normal.
Because that's how we were raised. That's what we were taught. You have to go marry a nice Jewish boy and go. Don't get me wrong. I love my life. I love my children. But there are moments where I look at it. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, how did I get here?
I was just participating in a conversation that said, what do you see in marriage that is considered normal that you don't think should be normal? And this conversation was fascinating.
Say that again. What do you see in marriage as normal that you don't think should be normal?
Yes. So for instance, sleeping in the same bed.
Brooke, oh my God, look, I just crashed my phone. I see these all the time.
Yeah.
Whose idea was it? And I have to sleep with a boy all the time. Ugh, they smell bad.
Right? This conversation was so funny. Yes. Or even cohabitating. Like someone in the comments said, we're engaged, we're going to get married, and we might keep both houses because we're happy. How crazy is that? Like to think of all of these things.
I say this all the time. I saw a news story. I must have been like maybe early 20s, late teens. And I will never forget. It was like on the news, like a Dateline thing or something about this couple who live across the street from each other. And at the time it was like, what? Why did it stick with me? It stuck with me because I think it's fucking genius. Sorry, Are you not a cursing?
I'm fine. I love to swear. Okay. You're good.
It's a genius concept. It's genius.
Yes.
Because why all of a sudden do we get married and all of a sudden we're not our own people anymore? Like we just give up everything. I have to share my bed and my shower and my bathroom and my children and my family and my house and my decorating with you. Like, why? No, maybe I just want my own little space, my own place to be me.
And the concept that our spouse has to be everything. They're our confidant. They're our best friend. They're our companion that we do every activity with. We have so many of these norms and these beliefs that we hold on to. For what? Does it serve us anymore? Yeah. In a lot of cases, no.
Or even worse, as women, that we have to be everything, that we have to give up our careers to be moms, which I did, by the way. I did in a lot of ways. And it's problematic for me because now I'm like, I don't know if I should have done that, And listen, I just read Untamed by Glennon Doyle. Have you read that book yet?
Twice. Love it. Okay. Oh my gosh.
Right. The whole concept of us having to martyr ourselves is, I have to tell you something. I was walking by myself. And I had my earbuds in and I'm listening to the book and she started talking about it and I started bawling. Yes. And it was like an instinctual cry. It was like as if somebody punched me in the face and I cried because it hurt. I was like, holy shit, that's me. Yes. I have been bartering myself for so long. Yes. So I immediately was like, all right, I'm sorry, this is going to fuck everybody's life up right now, but I am going to stop doing everything that I don't want to do anymore. Yep. And it's definitely uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable.
Yes.
It's uncomfortable when people don't get it. It's uncomfortable when they're part of it. But that's a lot of what I've been doing the last 2 months, sort of unraveling a lot of that martyrdom.
Yes.
And it's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? I first heard about that with Shonda Rhimes. She did an interview with Oprah,
Yes.
two amazing
Yes.
women. And she said, why do we only celebrate mothers for their sacrifices and what they gave up? Why
So
don't we
true.
celebrate moms and say, Mom, thanks for showing me how to be an amazing business owner and CEO. Mom, thanks for showing me this. Why do we always say Mom gave up her dreams for us? Fuck that.
Yep.
No.
Yep.
And
Yep.
those are all the
It's
cards for
crazy.
Mother's Day, right? But you don't see that for Father's Day.
Nope.
Hmm.
Nope.
Yes,
It's
girl.
crazy. It's crazy. Today my daughter had a doctor's appointment. The
Mm-hmm.
doctor was female and the nurse was male. And it just like tickled me. She's like, I'm going to go get my nurse Matt, blah, blah, blah. And I had this moment of like, wouldn't it be crazy if the whole world was like this? Like
Yes.
the other way around, right? And men were
Yes.
like, oh, we need to fight the matriarchy. And we need, like,
Can you imagine? That would be crazy.
it would be crazy. Listen, it's not right either. It shouldn't be all one way or all another way. But
No.
it was just a moment of like, wow, this is like, wow, this is
Yes.
so cool. But yeah, that martyrdom is a pandemic in itself.
Mhm.
And,
Ongoing,
it's
generational.
ongoing. And it's
Mhm.
stuff that I talked about in the past but never really understood it in my own life.
Yeah.
And then when I really started understanding it in the past few months, I was like, whoa, there's a lot of
Yes.
change that happened here.
Yes. Well, and it's in the little things too. Like I find myself even in conversations with my daughter. She's working on building a spaceship for school right now. And we talk about the astronaut. Well, what would he think? What would, because, and she goes, well, maybe his wife is at home. And I was like, oh, hell no, 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 no. So we had to switch that around a lot because we do have this idea that's just ingrained in us constantly that women are the ones who give up everything in order to make other people happy.
That's right. That's
Oh,
right. And I look back and I think about when I had my daughter and I quit my
mhm.
job and I was a stay-at-home mom and I loved it. Listen, and I still consider myself a stay-at-home mom because forget right now because the kids are home, they're at school, whatever. I don't know what the hell they're doing every day. But when the kids are in school full time, if
Yeah,
that ever
yeah, yeah,
happens
yeah.
again, hopefully, I'm home at 3 o'clock. I get them to school and I'm home at 3 o'clock. So
Hmm.
according to them, I probably don't even work. It's
Yeah,
like they don't even know what I do all day long. In fact,
yeah.
now like there's times where they're like, I need you, I need you. I'm like, I can't right now. Like,
Yes.
why? You tend to my need all the time. And I'm like, I'm actually
Hmm.
working. This
Right?
is what I do when you're at school.
Yes.
But anyway, the point is that hopefully I can remember the point. When they were in school every day, I still consider myself a stay-at-home mom. And
Yes.
so, I still do the food shopping, I pay the bills, I do the carpool, I do all the things. So I fit a full-time job into part-time hours, right? But I did give up my career, right? Like
Yes.
really like trajectory that I was
Corporate.
on,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
gave up
yeah.
the career. Correct. And believe me, if I said to my kids, I'm going to work every day from 9 to 5, leave me alone, or
Mhm.
9 to 7, how many hours do people work these days? More than 9 to 5.
Yes.
I would be much further along in my career than I actually am,
Absolutely.
right?
Hmm.
The point is that there are times where I regret giving up my
Hmm.
career and the trajectory and the financial independence and all of that. And there are times where I'm like, but I was with my kids.
Yes.
And so the question is, I don't know. How do you have it all? I don't know that. I don't know how you can have a career like that. So I don't know, just because I haven't
Yeah.
figured it out for
Yeah.
myself yet. But I also wonder how many dads out there do say to themselves, I wish I had more time with my kids. I wish I
Absolutely.
wasn't at
Yeah.
work as much, so, and
Yeah.
we don't really talk about that because God
Yeah.
forbid.
Yeah. I think that most women that have it all have a lot of help. And that's what,
Yeah.
like, I don't know if you've ever read Rachel Hollis's books, but that is one thing that she talks about is I get help and there's no shame in that whatsoever. Like I started hiring house cleaners a few years ago.
Yeah.
It is life changing to get
Oh,
help
yeah.
just in that one area. And so many people, we think we have to do
Yeah.
it ourselves, especially if you're stay at home. You're like, I should be able to handle this. Not why? Why?
Mm-mm.
Why do you
No,
think
I'm
that
going
you
to tell
have
you a
to?
little secret. I haven't done a load of laundry in, I can't tell you how many years. You know why? Every time I do it, the whole time I sit there, I'm folding it and I'm bitching. This is such a waste of my time. I'm putting it away and I'm like,
Yes.
this is such a waste of my time because
Yes.
it never ends. It
Mm-mm.
never fucking ends.
No.
And honestly, if you start breaking down like how much money you want to make an hour and how many hours you spend on laundry alone,
Yes.
go have somebody do it for you.
Well,
I know that sounds really bratty, by the way. I don't mean it like that, but what I
no,
mean is like,
it sounds powerful.
I don't have an issue outsourcing my taxes. I'm not going to sit and do my taxes. I'm going to have my accountant do it.
Right?
There's a lot of things I outsource in my life, and I'm
Are
okay
you
with
going to change
outsourcing
your
if I
own
want to.
oil?
No.
Why do we have this idea that there's certain things that we have to do and certain things that we don't? It's another one of those beliefs that you get to 40 and you're like, wait a second.
Right. No, laundry is stupid. If I was rich, if I was like Kim Kardashian rich, I would like probably just throw my clothes away. Like I'm
Mhm.
like, you shouldn't have to wash and rewear them ever. It's terrible.
Right? So we all have like goals and things. And my goals, a lot of people have like revenue goals, business goals, stuff like that. My goals are a little different. One of my big goals is to have a part-time housekeeper, 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, that will take care of all the stuff I don't want to do around the house, including things like oil changes, taking my car in. I want Alice from the Brady Bunch.
Yeah. Yes.
And my husband goes, well, do we really need that? Is that really necessary? And I said, yes, it is. It is absolutely necessary.
You know what? I'll tell you why it's necessary. Because, okay, can we all live without it? Yes. If you can live with it, should you? Yes. Because that's actually, it helps your sanity. And it actually creates more time for you and your children, more quality time.
Yes.
There are so many hours that I'm like, I can't talk to you now. I have to do this. I can't talk to you now. I have to, make dinner. I have to whatever.
Yeah.
In any given moment, if somebody else can do it for me and it's good, I'm taking that opportunity,
Right?
So then this way I don't take the extra time and, eat bonbons on the couch. Like I'll spend it with my kids, or I'll get work done, or I'll go to the gym, or whatever, or eat bonbons on the couch. Like if that's what you need to do, do
you
it.
do you. Yep. And
God,
not only the time, but the emotional energy. Like how much energy do we spend going, oh, I really need to do that. Oh my gosh, the laundry's piling up. Oh my gosh, the dog peed on the floor and someone let it set because I didn't see it. Like how much energy do we spend on those things when we could be spending them either impacting the lives of our clients or working with our kids one-on-one or going to the gym, or just sitting around doing nothing because you damn well want to.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. And, listen, I live in a very nice, affluent neighborhood. There are a lot of women here that are stay-at-home moms, that have full-time nannies. And I hear it all the time. Oh, life must be so hard. You know what? If that's what they want to do, more power to them. I mean,
yes. Right. And how often do little comments like that go back to the money stuff that we talked about before? Of like, oh, these people have the money to do that. They don't have a right to complain. They don't have any problems. Why are they complaining? Why do they have any hardships whatsoever? And we get that in our heads that rich people are bad. And when you have money, you are clearly not a good human. And it all kind of is this big circle of martyrdom and sacrifice and bullshit.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yep.
Could not.
Or even like, my job is the side hustle, or I'm just the extra money, or
right. So the word side hustle really bothers me. I hate that phrase. Same with boss babe.
Yeah. Yes.
Lady boss. No, actually.
Lady boss. Yeah.
Here, I'll send you one of these because I send them to all my podcast people. They're my favorite mugs, but it actually says girl boss, lady boss.
I love it.
The boss, because you know what? There is no need for a female qualifier because we're the boss, period, end of story.
Right. It's so funny too that like there's that whole fight, because I think if you went into most houses, who runs the house? Who is the boss of the house? Most of the time, it's us. I mean, listen, if my husband called me right now, it's like, I can't find the mustard, I'd be like, it's on the second shelf down on the right-hand side behind the grape. You know what I mean? Like, we got it all. We know everything that's going on. We are the operations manager of many people's lives.
Yes. And how many times are we as women perpetuating this shit? You don't hear guys call someone a lady boss.
Hey, man, boss.
They might say like boss lady, but you never hear a guy go, she's a boss babe. No guy says that. It's all girls.
Somebody said that to me, I'd be so offended. A boss babe.
I know.
I'd be like, there's a thing now too. Like I heard this recently where, okay, this is a little bit of a change of topic, but not even my podcast, but I'm changing the topic.
That's okay.
So
we'll do it.
I heard somebody say the other day that girls now, younger girls or younger women, don't want to be told that they're beautiful or that they're sexy, because it's not a compliment. It's like, you need to think of a different compliment, like you're smart or whatever. But like, women get offended now, some women, when they're told they're sexy. And I'm like, okay, see, I draw the line at that, because I'm fucking 45 years old. If you want to tell me I'm sexy, you can tell me I'm sexy.
I'll take it. How about we just combine the two? How about, sexy and brains? That's awesome. Like,
right. But listen, I want to say, I do think it's confusing for women and men right now. I do think that we are sending mixed signals, what we like and what we don't like, and when it's appropriate and when it's not. And I have to say, I don't always blame men for floundering and not understanding, because I don't always understand it. And that there is really no hard and fast rule, that you really need to kind of feel somebody out and understand the people individually. You know?
We just had this discussion with my son, who's 16, because a woman that I know that works in HR had to fire someone for calling a woman a Karen at work.
Oh my God.
So this guy got fired because it was seen as sexist. And so we had to have this talk with my son, who wants to be a pilot, and 5% of commercial pilots are female. And I'm like, dude, you have to treat that 5% like gold, because you don't want to get fired over something like that. That's dumb.
Yeah, I had a conversation with my son, who just went into 6th grade. And the conversation involves consent, because I'm starting to see that his friends have girlfriends. And I said to him, I want you to understand what consent is, and that you need to ask every girl, even if you just want to kiss her or anything, or hold her hand, you need to ask her if it's okay with her. And I tried to explain to him that actually it's very romantic when a man asks first, how, women don't look down on that. They don't look at you as a weak person. They look at you actually as very romantic. It's actually very attractive. It's a very attractive quality. Like, I'm trying to spin it as like, this is the most amazing thing you could do, which it is, by the way. I mean, obviously we're married, we've been out of the game for a while, but imagine like a man said to you, like, is it okay if I kiss you? Like, that's so romantic. It's
Hell
like,
yeah, you can.
yeah, exactly. So I was like, but it's crazy to me to think in 6th grade I'm having these conversations about consent, but you know what? You have to.
Well, and one day when he's in college and they've been drinking too much and he's in a situation, your voice will come back to him and he'll ask. And a girl who has been drinking too much will think about it and go, actually, no, I want to stop. And he will thank you.
Yeah.
Even if it's like telepathically, like, thanks, Mom, he will thank you, because that is so important for him to know.
And, I thought about this because I really had a moment of like, is this a conversation for him and his dad? And I was like, you know what? No, this is a conversation for me and him, because he needs to hear it also from a woman. I mean, they could have the conversation too, but he needs to hear it from a woman's point of view, that this is what women want. This is not just polite. This is not just the law. This is actually how women want to be treated,
Yes. Well, and my son and I have had the porn talk a lot too, of this is not real. And you need to understand that what you see in any of this, 99.9% of the time, is total bullshit. Do not take pointers from this. Like, do not consider this learning material because it's false.
It messes up your brain and your relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And listen, as photographers, we know that more than anything, right? Like, I say to my kids on a daily basis, just because you saw it on TikTok doesn't mean it's true, my friends, like, even my father, by the way, who like showed me this amazing TikTok recently. And I was like, yeah, that's awesome, Dad. But none of that is real. And he's like, you don't think so? And I'm like, no, Dad, it's like completely manufactured video. And he's like, oh, it didn't even occur to me.
Yes.
Like, it just looks so real that I believed it. And I was like, this is the problem with our children these days. They believe everything that they see.
Yes. And it's really hard to constantly, and then my son's like, this doesn't have to be a teachable moment, Mom. And I'm like, you know what?
Everything is a teachable moment.
Always.
I always tell my kids, it's my job to raise a human. That's right. It's my job to put a human out in the world. That's my job is not for you to like me. My job is to make you a member of society.
That's right. I tell my son, it's probably inappropriate, but I always say, I refuse to raise little assholes. So if I have to be mean to you to get you to be a kind member and a contributing member of society, then so be it.
Correct. I am with you 100%.
Oh my gosh. My notes are all over the place and crazy. Thank you so much for being here today. I am so honored to have you. Where can anyone listening learn more about what you do, what you offer, who you are, your journey, all the things? Where can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, thank you. JenRozenbaum.com is the best place to find everything. It's Rozen, by the way, in case anyone doesn't know how to spell Rozenbaum. It's Rozen, not S. So JenRozenbaum.com will take you to my photography stuff. It will take you to my podcast, Shamelessly Feminine. It will take you to my breast cancer stuff. I just wrote a book, so that is on Amazon.
I'm so excited.
And it's called What the Fuck Just Happened? A Survivor's Guide to Life After Breast Cancer.
That's amazing. I feel like that would be also applicable for 2020, even if it's not breast cancer.
Yes, it is actually. It's very funny because it's actually a book that could be really read about any trauma in life, and COVID is no different, but it's just from a breast cancer point of view. So you can check that out. But that's all linked at jenrozenbaum.com. And then the other really great place to find me would be Instagram at Jen Rozenbaum. That's really where I share my daily thoughts and photos and journeys of my clients and silly reels and whatever else. It's sort of my own personal journal online. That's how I look at it.
Yes. I love your little dancey videos.
Thank you. They're getting quite a lot of feedback. So I did a video the other day about how to make a tush look good on a Tushy Tuesday.
I saw
some little turd wrote, "This would be great if you didn't steal this information from somebody else." And I deleted it because I was like, "You're just a turd." But I felt like writing back, "No, I probably taught them that, you idiot." You saw it somewhere else. I probably taught them that. I'm very old.
Right. And that
I've been around a long time.
Like that person that said that is probably like 22.
Right.
You're like,
no.
I've been doing this longer than you've been out of school. So I probably, Isn't it funny what people assume? And you're like, where do you even get this information? Oh my gosh.
Hilarious. But I'm having a lot of fun with the reels. I'm going to make one when we hang up, actually, because I have an idea for one today. So
I've never done one. I need to figure that out.
Let me tell you, I know you want to go because it's been like an hour and I talk too much, but I have to tell you, if anybody out there is listening and is looking to increase their Instagram followers and interaction, you best be doing reels.
I'm writing it down right now. Whenever I do something like that, I need to have it planned and I need to know what I'm doing. And it just doesn't really work that way.
Right. Okay. So you're talking to the most unorganized, unplanned person ever. Okay, this podcast has officially come full circle. What did we say right in the beginning of the podcast? Right? The beginning of the podcast, we said, if you plan too hard, you're not leaving room for organic things to happen.
That's true. But what organic stuff do I have to show?
I'll tell you.
Hi, here's my bag of lipstick. I don't know what to say.
Yes, you do. Okay, so by the way, there's one video on my reels of me and my kids dancing, totally organic. Like I was filming and they were just trying to be obnoxious little idiots. So I put it up. I was like, whatever, this is my life, right?
Yes.
So what is organic? What are you feeling today? Like, what do you feel about, maybe there's something inspirational from this conversation, or maybe you feel like, okay, I know what you can do a reel about. You can do a reel about, how do you help your kids believe in themselves? And the answer is, you model it for them. So do a reel based on that. That's something that really hit you today. So that's something that would probably hit your tribe also. There are days where I wake up and I'm just like, I don't know, today I'll give a posing tip. Or I did one where I showed my studio. You think you need to have a fancy studio? There's all these photographers out there that are showing their gorgeous studios. Yeah. I have a 600 square foot hole in the wall studio. Yeah. That I'm going to show you. And I'm going to say to you, you can make magic anywhere. It doesn't have to be fancy.
20,000 house plants everywhere. What's up with that?
Yeah.
I don't understand
so today's reel, I don't know. I don't either. It's too much furniture, too much plants, too much. We need to get back to, it's funny. I was just thinking about creating a course called boudoir minimalism or something.
Yes.
Let's get back to the girl. Remember the girl in the picture?
Right. The focus. About her at some point. Yes. Right. It's so true.
Yeah, I don't judge. But yeah, today's reel is going to be, I've decided it's going to be me and the camera, and it's going to say something, I haven't figured it out quite yet, but it'll be something like saying to a photographer, wow, great picture, you must have a great camera, is like saying to a chef, you must have great pots.
Right? Yeah.
Because I think that information needs to be out there.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
That's today's reel.
Do people still say that?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I've just trained my people not to ever say that to me because
it's not my clients. Not my clients, but during the pandemic when I went around shooting people's kids and stuff like that, or photographing people's kids.
No.
And I'd get a lot of oh my God, what camera do you have? And listen, I'm all about the gear. The gear is important. That's fine, but you have to know how to use it.
Right? Oh my gosh, just flip it on auto. It's all good. No.
Exactly. P for photographer.
Oh, geez. Thank you so much for being here. I will have all of Jen's links, Instagram, all the things, as well as all the show notes for this episode and all of them at businessstraightup.com/podcast. And as always, if you love this episode, can you head on over to iTunes and leave a review? I know it seems small and silly, but for us, it really helps us know, first of all, what you need help with. Second of all, it helps us get amazing guests like Jen so that we can talk about 27 different subjects because all of them are amazing and important. And this is like my favorite type of episode. So head on over to iTunes, leave a review. Those reviews mean so much. And if you take a screenshot before you submit your review and email it to hello@businessstraightup.com, I have a free present for you. And the freebie changes all the time. So I'll just ask you what you want. So templates, all sorts of fun stuff. Thank you, Jen, for being here. And thank you, everyone else, for pressing play today. I hope that you either cried or laughed or learned or just felt like you were sitting with us, because today's episode was amazing. Just a conversation about all the things we're looking at right now, the things we're facing, right?
Thank you so much for having me, Brooke. You're amazing. Keep it up.
Have an amazing rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening to Business Straight Up. I'm so glad that you could join us today. Check out the show notes for this and all of the episodes at businessstraightuppodcast.com. And I can't wait to talk with you again. Have a great day.